Hello, everyone. Welcome to Diego Knows. I am Diego, and today we are going to talk about the new Kevin Smith documentary called Clerk, not with an S, just single, Clerk, which came out last week. I don't know how the hell you can watch it. I just watched it, and it came out just in time for the Masters of the Universe. If you saw my review for that, it was, oof, God. But anyway, so it's a documentary about Kevin Smith, the filmmaker, and it's very, very personal for me because I grew up watching his movies. Okay, I grew up following him. This guy is a big hero of mine for a very long time. I'm older, all right? So, you had to have been there, okay, in the 90s. For those of you that are too young to understand, the 90s was a very, very different time from what it is right now. And there was a lot of new things. Things that we take for granted today were brand new back then. They came out back then. So, and a big part of that was the filmmaking, the music, the fashion, all sorts of things. The first cell phones was in the 90s. So it was a different time. It was a different world than what we have today. There was actually something called alternative rock that was very popular back then in the early '90s. And there was all sorts of things. The culture was changing. The '80s were gone, and it was being replaced by something else. And as a young man that I was back then, I could see it happen. I was aware of it. Like, oh my God, things are changing. I can see it. I'm changing. The people are changing. Everything's changing. Differently. And you start paying attention to your surroundings. Like, what's going on with the culture? The cultural zeitgeist, was transforming. Like overnight, heavy metal was gone. It was just gone. Hair bands were just gone. Like it happened so fast. Like you're just like, whoa, where the hell am I? And that's kind of what it was like. And Kevin Smith was a big part of that for me, and for a lot of people. He was our generation. He was our voice. I've mentioned before that I was a big comic book fan. I was a big comic book nerd. And there weren't very many of us. I mean, I had a few friends that were in it. We played Dungeons and Dragons together. A couple. I didn't really like Dungeons and Dragons, but these were my family. Okay, these were the guys that were interested in the same things I was. Like Robotech and Transformers and Spider-Man, the Avengers, and all that kind of junk. I was really into that stuff. And but we were in the closet back then. Okay, you didn't talk about that stuff at school. Not when you're in junior high school. Like you don't wear a superhero shirt unless you wanted to get your ass kicked. You didn't bring a comic book to school unless you wanted the bullies to beat the shit out of you and the girls will laugh at you. We weren't the very physical. We weren't athletes. We weren't the popular kids. We were the kids that were quiet. We did our homework. We didn't misbehave in class. We were not the class clowns. We were the ones that just, we lived in our fantasy worlds. Like I'd be in class and I'd be drawing pictures of Batman and the Joker and stuff instead of paying attention to class. That's the kind of kids that we were. And we found each other through the love of comic books. Now there was no internet back then. So we found each other at conventions, at comic book stores. We'd go to these stupid little things, like medieval times. It's like a Renaissance fair type thing. That was like coming out back then. So that's how we knew each other. That's how we found each other. And in the '90s, that geek culture really started to explode a lot more. And I remember living in Chicago. I was a kid, in the early '90s. And my best friend, I was from Chicago, so I liked like hip hop music, and like club music. I was a club kid all the way, dancing, techno, that kind of stuff that, was embarrassing today. But back then it was cool. That's what the radio stations played, and it was cool. I saw the videos, CNC Music Factory, I mean, it's a joke today. I mean, did you see that Annie movie, the one with Cameron Diaz a few years back? Remember, she said, "I was in CNC Music Factory." Okay, well, it was a joke. Well, today it's a joke, but back then that was like the number one band. That was the number one chart-topping hits. We had Color Me Bad. We had all this kind of, Humpty Hump, Digital Underground, all this shit. Tupac was big at that time, So, we had all this dance club music in Chicago, in the big city that I lived in. And I loved it. That's what I listened to. There was a radio station there. It's still around, I think. It's called B96. I used to listen to that every day, getting ready for high school, And that's the kind of kid that I was. Meanwhile, my best friend, his name was Anthony, and I'm Mexican, okay, but my best friend is white, okay? And he was from Michigan, okay? He was in Chicago. I mean, he was in Chicago too, we both worked together. That's how we were friends. We're about the same age. And this guy just, was all into, Nirvana and Pearl Jam. And he was in a band. He played the drums, and Stone Temple Pilots, and that's the alternative rock, which was really big at the time. It was just blowing up. It's like Seattle took over all of pop music. It took over the zeitgeist of America at that time. It just, all this stuff from Seattle just all of a sudden swept through the United States, and everybody was doing it. You know, a lot of movies from back then. Like I remember a movie called Mad Love with Drew Barrymore and Chris O'Donnell. You know, I mean that was it. You know, Airheads with Brendan Fraser and Steve Buscemi and Adam Sandler. I mean, these were the stuff that was coming out now. You know, and so the culture was changing. Like heavy metal was dead. It was the hair bands. You know, Motley Crue and all that was gone. Boom, gone. It was replaced with this. It was replaced with Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots and Jane's Addiction, you know, and Lollapalooza and all this, like all this stuff. It changed, okay, and it was a good time. It really was. I didn't really have that much to do with the alternative rock stuff. I didn't really pay. Like I said, I didn't listen to that stuff. That was a different radio station. But Anthony listened to it and he turned me on to it. And next thing I know, dude, I'm over here listening to Stone Temple Pilots and I'm fucking in love. I mean, I'm in love with this music. I'm in love with this culture. And, you know, Anthony dressed differently. I dressed like a club kid. You know, Anthony dressed like, you know, a white kid from the suburbs. You know, he had the cap on backwards. He had the plaid shirt on that he tied around his waist. You know, the lumberjack shirt that you tied around your waist. You know, the holes in the jeans. You know, the T-shirt with the long sleeve sweater underneath it. You know, I mean, this was the grunge thing. You know, the bandana around your head. I mean, that's what it was. You know, it was a different time back then. And I kind of fell in love with that aspect. So I started kind of dressing that way. You know, I started listening to this music. I started going to music events with him that played rock instead of like techno dance. That was like when he wanted to dance, when he wanted to techno dance, he went to the clubs that I liked. But when I wanted to hear a band, you know, just jamming, you know, like Smells Like Teen Spirit or something like that, then I would go to a club that he wanted to go to, you know, and that's what we did, you know. So it was a good time in my life, you know. And I remember there was a lot of movies that had blown up. Quentin Tarantino was brand new back then. He just came out and he exploded with Pulp Fiction. But before Pulp Fiction, I'm going to tell you right now, Miramax, okay, yeah, Harvey Weinstein, yeah, his company, they just snuck into Hollywood through the back door. They were independent filmmakers. They snuck into Hollywood, okay, and they just created a new type of movie that no one had ever seen before, you know? It was different, and they spread this out to the mass audience, you know? Back in the 80s and the 70s, there's a formula for making movies, for making profitable movies. You followed the formula, okay? It was guaranteed success, okay? You know, and everybody did it. So things got kind of generic, and then all of a sudden, these independent filmmakers with low budgets started coming into the mainstream. You know, and Miramax led the charge. They really did. Harvey Weinstein led the charge. I'll give him credit for that. You know, I know he's a piece of shit. We all know that. But I give him credit for what he did. He changed the culture. He changed movies. Okay, he took chances on guys like Quentin Tarantino. You know, he took chances on these guys. You know, like David Linklater and all these other like independent film. He gave them a platform where they could take their thoughts and ideas and put that out in the mainstream. No better was it a greater example of that than Pulp Fiction. I mean, Pulp Fiction was an art house movie made by friends that he put out there, and boom, it changed the way movies were made. You know, so that was going on. That was a brand new thing in cinema back then. I watched a lot of movies, and then when I saw Pulp Fiction, I was like, oh my god, I've never seen anything like this before. This is insane. It's about nothing, but yet it's about everything. Like I never thought that I would be so fascinated with Amsterdam tourist travel. You know. I never thought that I could watch two guys just talking to each other for 15 minutes and be completely entertained. And yet it's still just two guys talking to each other, you know? That was different. Never seen that before. You know, where the dialogue was more important or just as important as the action, you know? And I'd never seen that before. And I remember, you know, I started looking, you know, because I was a young man. I started looking for things at the Blockbuster video. Like, okay, well, what's... You know, because I started really getting into independent cinema. Not the major block. I mean, I still saw that, but I was seeking out these Miramax movies. I was seeking out these independent movies because they were talking to me. They were my generation. They were the voice of my generation, you know. And then I found this guy, Kevin Smith. I found Clerks, and I watched it. And I remember what I really remember about it is one of the characters in there, Randall. He looked like Anthony. He looked like my best friend. It kind of felt like my best friend was in this movie. He dressed just like him, dude. He had the lumberjack shirt on, the baseball cap on backwards, you know. You know, you look just like my best friend. So I'm like, okay, my friend's in this movie, you know. So I showed it to him. Hey, let's watch this, dude. Oh my God, dude, we were just cracking our ass up. It was so fucking funny. I'd never seen a movie like this before. Now I remember in the 80s we had things like, you know, Porky's and stuff, you know, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So I kind of was aware of this, you know, Police Academy, that kind of, but we didn't have it in our generation. That was an older generation. We were kids watching adults, you know, make dick and fart jokes. But now these are our contemporaries. These are people our age making dick and fart jokes and talking about things. You know, like my girlfriend sucked 36 cocks, you know? You didn't see that in a movie back then. You know, and these were guys our age. And they're making these Star Wars references. I watched Star Wars. They're making comic book references. I was a comic book nerd. We're making Jaws references. I watched Jaws, you know? And, you know, the cigarettes, you know, everything, you know? It was funny. It was just two guys working at a fucking convenience store. You know, just hilarious, you know? It was about nothing, but it was about everything. And these characters really is which won you over was the characters. The writing was incredible. You know, just like Pulp Fiction, the writing was everything. The writing was fucking good. This guy, Kevin Smith, I know what that was his name back then, but Silent Bob was just hilarious. He was hilarious, you know? This kid Jason Mewes, oh my God, dude. Everybody was dressing like him, the long hair, the beanie, you know? Motherfucker, you know, smoking cigarettes, you know? Smoking weed, doing coke, drinking beers. You know what I mean? That shit was hilarious. That was what we were doing. You know, we were smoking weed, we were drinking beers. That was our generation. We were dressing like that. We were listening to that music. You know, we were making those jokes. And these guys' jokes were better than our jokes, you know? So of course we loved it. We absolutely loved it. And I wanted to see more. I wanted to see, who's this guy, you know? So I know Mallrats came out a couple years later. And, you know, I was excited about that because I knew Jay and Silent Bob. I didn't know what it was about, but I knew Jay and Silent Bob were coming back. I did not know that this was going to be my introduction to Ben Affleck either, but it was, you know. So we watched it. You know, I watched Mallrats, and I thought it was funny. It was funny, but there was something missing about it. Like it wasn't as pure as Clerks was. Clerks was just about two average guys, you know, just two slackers that were just, you know, working in a convenience store, video store and a convenience store. Mallrats was, you know, about a bunch of, you know, kooky people at the mall, you know. People that just like to hang out at the mall. I mean, I love the Stan Lee being in there because I'm a big comic book nerd. I knew who Stan Lee was, and I saw him in a movie. I'd met Stan Lee before, so I was excited about that. I love the fact that these guys were comic book nerds because that was my area. Those are my people you're talking to now. You know, this is stuff I know about. You know, so I felt like I was being represented. For the first time in movies, I wasn't fantasizing about being the character on screen. Okay, for the first time in my life, I wasn't fantasizing about wishing I could be that guy on screen. For the first time, I was the guy on screen. Okay? Those people in there, those were people I knew. I didn't know them, but I knew them. Everybody knew them. Everybody had friends like that. At least in my community, they did. Every guy went to high school with kids like that. Everyone made jokes like that when girls weren't looking, you know, when their parents weren't around. We made those jokes. We said those things, you know? And, you know, and these were like my people. You know, you know, I related to them, you know, so much. And I thought Mallrats was hilarious. I thought it was funny as hell. You know, I loved it. I loved it a lot, you know. But apparently the audience didn't like it because it didn't make very much money. So there was that. Okay, so now I'm getting a little bit older. And then you go into, I remember I was in the Marines. And of course I was reading comic book in the Marines. By that time I didn't care. You know, comic books were starting to come back again a little bit. You know, by this time we'd already had The Shadow and the god-awful Batman movies and, you know, Tank Girl and, you know, just dumb shit, you know. And Blade had come out, you know, was brand new. That was doing great. So I wasn't ashamed of my comic books. And I earned some rank in the Marines by then, you know, so you couldn't just talk shit to me, you know. You know, I looked at the back of the comic book. There was an ad for this movie called Chasing Amy. And I recognized the guys in there. I didn't recognize Ben Affleck or Jason Lee. But I did recognize Silent Bob and Jason Mewes. Oh, those guys again. Yeah, they were in Mallrats and they were in that Clerks movie that I love so much, you know. So eventually I got around to, I was in the Marine Corps, so I couldn't just go to the theater and go watch it, you know. I was deployed and all sorts of stuff. But when I was stateside, when I was in Garrison, I went to the PX, you know, they had a video store there, and I rented Chasing Amy, you know, watched it. And my God, it was so good. It was funny, but it was serious too. It had something to say. You know, I mean, I couldn't stop laughing. I knew I was in love with Kevin Smith after Chasing Amy because that movie was just incredible. You know, I was an aspiring comic book artist. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to draw comic books. That was my goal. That was my dream in life back then. And, you know, my whole life, my whole childhood, that's what I wanted to do. That's why I became an artist. You know, I wanted to draw comic books. And this was a movie about young men my age drawing comic books, you know, Banky and Holden, you know, Ben Affleck and Jason Lee, you know, and the jokes about the inker, you're a tracer. I mean, I knew all that stuff. The comic book conventions. I went to comic book conventions. I knew all that stuff. You know, so I'm being represented again, like even more now, you know. And then the whole thing with relationships. You know, let me tell you something, dude. I was in the Marines. Okay, when you're in the Marines, Okay, you're completely outnumbered. Okay, the ratio of men to women is like 98 to 2. Okay, it's like 98% men. Okay, at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Okay, and the area around it. Okay, it's mostly men out there. All right, and most of us are straight, despite what you see in movies and TV shows. Most of us are straight. Okay, so if you're gonna date a girl, you're gonna date a woman, and you're in the Marines, and you're on active duty in the Marines. You're living there on the base like I was. You're either gonna date uh, the um, the daughter of a Marine, which means that her dad outranks you completely. The wife of a Marine, which you could get in serious trouble for. I mean, everybody does it, but you can get in serious trouble if you get caught sleeping with another Marine's wife. Or a Marine herself. So she's in the Marines too, which means that you got to work around her schedule, you got to meet her friends, and, so those are the only options you have, So let's just say the pickings were pretty slim, okay? It's not like you had a smorgasbord of girls to choose from. You really didn't, so, you dated some girls that you shouldn't have dated, And this movie talked about that. It talked about this guy, who falls in love with a girl that's a lesbian. Well, she's not really a lesbian. She's just a multisexual, you could call it. She just fucks everybody, guy, girl, whatever. And he's trying to deal with that. He's trying to deal with her past, You didn't see movies that dealt with this stuff, I mean, today, a movie like that would never get made today. Because that's immediately slut shaming now, Oh, you made a movie about slut shaming. Well, back then, if you're in love with this beautiful girl that you totally click with and you totally are just crazy about, and she gets you and you get her, and you have so much in common, you have so much fun together, and then you find out that she fucked 500 guys. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I'm not dating the right girl. Maybe I shouldn't date her anymore. Now, today that's called slut shaming. No one will ever make a movie about that. Women have the right to sleep with everybody. No judgments. You have no right to judge a woman for that. That's what it is today, okay? But that doesn't change the fact that, past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. So if you fall in love with a girl like that, no matter how nice she is, you fall in love with a girl like that, and it doesn't work out and you end up getting fucked over hard and not in a good way, you got no one to blame but yourself. Okay, because you knew what you were getting into. Okay, you knew what kind of girl she was. You just didn't want to. You just didn't want to see it. You didn't want to go there. Well, that's what the movie was about. He couldn't deal with her past. He couldn't deal with her experiences. A lot more than he'd had. I mean, he was a comic book nerd, and she was this woman of the world. So yeah, I could see. I've been in that situation myself. I totally understood. I got that movie. That movie spoke to my heart. It challenged my beliefs in relationships and my beliefs in dating and my beliefs in just true love and all these other things. That movies give you something, but reality gives you something different. And this movie was more closer to reality than it was to what I was seeing in the other movies. So that this was a score, big time. It made me think. It made me think about my life, about relationships, about the kind of girls that I dated, the kind of women that I would get attached to, it's a lot of that was in there, and and the fact that Kevin Smith was his personal story. He changed a couple of things, but he really was dating Joy Lauren Adams, in real life when he made that movie, and he had a problem with her past, and he decided his way of dealing with it was to write a movie about it and have the actual girl be in the movie, play the girl in the movie, It was brilliant, right? Talk about method acting, but that's method movie making. But Ben Affleck was in it, and all. It was a great movie, and the jokes just were hilarious. That black guy that was in there, Hooper. He's the gay black militant. Which today would be BLM. But like that guy was just hilarious. Oh my god. I mean, back then, hating white people. When you're a black guy and you're hating white people, back then that was a joke. That was something funny. It's not funny today. It's very, very real today. But back then it was a joke. We didn't think it'd get to where we are today. But all that stuff was in there, and it was funny, and it was great, and it made you think, it had something to say, And the jokes landed, the acting was incredible. Jason Lee was incredible as Banky, Ben Affleck was great as Holden, I loved all that. I loved Joe Lauren Adams was perfect, and of course, Jay and Silent Bob show up, and Silent Bob, when he does speak, he says things that are important, So I like that, I like that a lot. So I was very excited later on when they came out with Dogma, and Dogma was, I'm a Catholic, I was raised Catholic, I'm not Catholic anymore, but I was raised Catholic, I was an altar boy, I went to Catholic school in grade school. I had to read the Bible. I went to mass. My mom used to make us go to Spanish mass, which I hated. But yeah, I had to go every Sunday. It wasn't an option. So I knew very much about the Catholic religion. Of course, I'm Mexican. Most Mexicans are Catholic. All right, raised Catholic. So so I was watching this dog movie, and it was pretty good. It wasn't as good as Chasing Amy, because Chasing Amy is more personal. This now you're dealing with metaphysical stuff. You're dealing with angels and the devil, and the end of the world, and all. So like it's a little bit different. But I liked it. It was funny as hell. Once again, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon did a great job. Alan Rickman, they got him. From Die Hard, Hans Gruber. They got Hans Gruber himself to be in this, and it was funny. I like watching Jason Mewes and Silent Bob again. It's like I was getting to the point now where I knew these characters. I knew Jay and Silent Bob. I knew them pretty damn well. Okay, I knew that that Jason Mewes, Jay was always talking shit. He was always saying stupid ass stuff. I was acting stupid. I was saying snooch to the motherfucking nooch, or snoochy boochies, I knew all that stuff already, okay? It was a trademark, okay? Around this time, I actually went to a comic book convention in Chicago. I used to go every year, Wizard World Chicago, back when that was the thing. And I met Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes there, and I remember talking to them. They were hilarious, I remember seeing Jason Mewes going like, Snoochie Boochies, he's like, snagging, it was hilarious, and listening to Kevin Smith talk was funny. He was so hilarious. I remember he was up there on the panel. I was asking him back when Harley Quinn, his daughter, was a little girl, I was asking him questions about like, who's going to be in your new movie, blah, blah, blah. He was talking about Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. He was like, I'm working on a new movie right now. And I was like, who's going to be in it? He's like, who's going to be in it? Well, I'm going to be in it. And I think Ben Affleck is going to be in it. Who was hot off of Armageddon. We're all like, hey, Ben Affleck, So like, we were all excited. It was just a good time. These were my people. This spoke to me. This was my generation. This was my cultural zeitgeist. This is me being represented on screen for the whole world to see. Us comic book nerds, we were out of the closet now. We were cool now. These movies were popular. They were speaking to my generation. They were making a lot of money. Kevin Smith was very successful at this time in his career, doing a great job, and we couldn't get enough. We wanted more. We wanted more jokes, more dick and fart jokes, more movie references, more cliches, making fun of the industry, making fun of sex, making fun of like everything, it's just great. And they got all these movie stars popping in and out, doing cameos left and right. So it was a cool thing to do. You got Salma Hayek in this thing, And she was a big name, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. These guys are Academy Award winning guys, and they're showing up in this as main characters. You got Chris Rock in there. Mark Hamill shows up, with this dildo lightsaber. Stuff was hilarious. This guy was saying all the stuff that we wanted to say. His opinions of Lord of the Rings, his opinions of Star Wars, Jaws, like you had to like look for it to catch the references, but it was there. If you were a comic book nerd like I was, you caught those references. You caught it, And at that time, Kevin Smith was also writing comic books. He wrote the Green Arrow comic book, which was great. I remember he created a character called an onomatopoeia. I had to look up that word to find out what it meant. I know what it means now, But like he created that character. He wrote the Green Arrow comic book. And I read it. I didn't read all of it, but I remember there's some good stuff in there. Where he died in the comic books. Kevin Smith was bringing him back. His son, is fighting to save Oliver Queen, and Oliver Queen is still stuck in heaven. And Parallax, Hal Jordan, who used to be Green Lantern, is like, hey, your son needs you. You need to get out of this place and go help your son. He's like, no, I want to be here. I don't. He's like, you weren't there for your son. Okay, you're not there for him then, and you're not there for him now. And then he's just like, boom. He came back and saved his son. I remember it was very, very emotional. I love that. I love that comic book. It's really, really good. And then he wrote Daredevil. I remember Ben Affleck did the intro and the trade paperback, and that was a good story too. Daredevil, loved it. And a lot of that stuff that he did in the Daredevil comic book ended up in the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, in 2003. The one that everybody hated it. I don't know why they hated it. I thought it was a great movie. I thought it was good. I know a lot of people hated it, but I think it's still better than some of the other shit that's out there right now. The Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. I think it was good. Okay, no, it wasn't perfect, but I think it was good. Okay, I don't like all the anger that so many people have. They're like, that's an abomination, destroy it. Yes, the Daredevil TV show is better. A lot better, okay? But the Daredevil movie was not bad. It was not bad. Okay, so anyway, back to where I was talking about Kevin Smith. So Dogma did very good. It challenged our ideas of God, and made jokes of it. And I thought that was very funny. I love the stories that Kevin Smith would talk about, he was starting to become like a professional public speaker. You know, like universities would pay him to just to come in and basically do stand-up comedy for 2 hours, you know, and you know, all of us where we went to go, we paid our money. We wanted to see him talk. Guy's a funny guy. He's a legit funny guy. He's fat but he's very witty. You know, he has all these great stories. Like he told stories about like the Superman movie. They hired him to write a Superman movie, and the whole story behind that was just hilarious. You know, and like he had to read it to Richard, not Richard Donner. He had to read it to whoever the producer was. You know, Joel Silver or whatever. You know, and he's like, "Well, you want me to tuck you in too?" Like, first of all, when are you making that Superman? I don't want to see that costume. I don't want to see the cape. I don't want him flying. You know, it's like, well, what the hell's he gonna do? He's like, well, but I want a big spider at the end. You know, I mean, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. His stories were hilarious. You know, and so he started getting like a second career doing that. You know, and I like that about it. He kept himself in the public eye, and those were really, really good. By the time Jay and Silent Bob came out, I was well invested. I already knew I was going to watch that movie as soon as it was announced. Okay, I remember my girlfriend at the time. We went opening day. Okay, and had a blast. I mean, it was fun as hell. You know, Will Ferrell. I mean, the road trip. You know, I mean, what is it? Tom Everett Scott, or whatever, the one who's Stifler from American Pie. He was in it. You know. You had, Shannon Elizabeth was in it. I mean, his own wife was in it. You know, Ali Lauder. You know, all these hot girls were in the movie. You know, and then you bring back, Ben Affleck comes back, and Jason Lee comes back, and so that stuff was good. I loved it. It was so funny. I remember the very beginning where he's like, fuck, motherfucker, motherfucker, noise. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, noise, smoking weed, doing coke, drinking beers. Hey, let me get a nickel back. $15, little man, put that shit in my hand. If that money doesn't show, then you owe me, my jungle love, yeah, oh. Think I wanna know you, I mean, okay, I know I just butchered it there, okay, but oh my God, I was holding my sides in the theater, okay, I was holding my sides. That shit was so fucking funny. I hadn't heard that song in forever, but I remember Purple Rain, and I remember liking that song as a kid, and just hearing it, this is the kind of stuff Kevin Smith did. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. He was pulling back all these references from my own childhood. Okay? He would make jokes about like the facts of life. Who the fuck watched the facts of life? Okay? What boy watched the facts of life in the 80s? Okay? You know who did? I did. Okay? I watched it. Okay? I watched Webster. I watched Different Strokes. I watched Silver Spoons. I watched all that bullshit. You know why? Because I had a single mom raise me. Okay? That's why. We didn't go out fishing. We didn't go out hunting. We didn't go play outside. We didn't play sports, okay? We sat at home and watched fucking TV, okay? I was raised by fucking Different Strokes, by Family Ties, okay? That's what I watched, okay? Growing Pains, okay? Who's the boss, all right? So this was my childhood, all right? And that was his childhood, too. Brady Bunch. He watched all that shit, the same shit I did, okay? He watched the same movie. He watched the Rocky movies. He watched Jaws. He watched Star Wars, He watched, Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. I mean, this is the shit that we grew up with, okay? So yes, we watched that shit, and he always made references to this stuff, And so yeah, I liked it, It was me being represented, I mean, he watched The Breakfast Club, and he had Judd Nelson in the movie, he played a sheriff or something. I mean, the point is that this stuff was funny. He was funny. He was at the top of his game, so hilarious. These dick and fart jokes had taken over. It wasn't something new now. Now it was something you expected. When you heard Kevin Smith, you expected something. You expected a certain level of entertainment from him, and he always delivered. He was great. Even the movies that people didn't like Mallrats, were still funny, So, Jay and Silent Bob, I mean, that was hilarious. I was cracking my shit up, And then after that, what did he do after that? I think he did Clerks 2. He did Clerks 2, which is also hilarious. I love that one. He's got they're working in the fast food industry, the movies, that stuff was good. I loved it. I loved the fact that it was the guys from the original Clerks came back, and it had some closure to it, like the next step is not to work at the convenience store, be the convenience store. This is your life. Quit fighting it. You love working at that store. You love working with your best friend. This is who you're meant to be, Instead of beating yourself up over not being a grown-up, just do this. This is what you want to do. This is who you are. Quit fighting it, You don't have to grow up if you don't want to. Be this. This is who you are. Make the best of this, And I think that was a good message, because this is a parallel Kevin Smith's life, At that time, he's like, you know what? I'm a guy who makes dick and fart joke movies, and I'm a public speaker and I make jokes, and this is who I am. Instead of thinking that I'm going to be something else, I'm just going to embrace this. This is who I am, you know. And so and I loved it. I loved it. I'm not going to do all the jokes here, but I mean it was great stuff in there. Come on, come on. What was that? The donkey show. I mean, this stuff was funny. Okay, it was funny. It was legit funny. Okay, working at the movies. Okay, so that was all good. All right. And then unfortunately the tide started to turn. Now we started getting into the next thing he did, which was Zach and Mira make a porno. Now I do believe that's the next one he did. I watched. Now he did some other stuff in between. I mean, he showed up in Die Hard. He had a cameo in Daredevil. He was showing up in other stuff. I think he did like an episode of Law and Order back then. I didn't watch it. But he was showing up in other stuff. He was doing these little Q&A sessions. Like he had one with Stan Lee, and I saw that one. He's making these little jokes. Oh, Mary Jane. Yeah, Peter really liked Mary Jane, And he did Zach and Mira make a porno. And I was there for opening night for that movie. It was in Austin, Texas. I went with my little brother. And it was the American premiere of the movie. The movie had already premiered in Canada earlier. But this was the official premiere of Zach and Mira Make a Porno. And the American premiere. And I was in Austin, Texas. And I went with my little brother. And we went over there. And of course, Kevin Smith was there. He did a little speech. He showed the movie. Afterwards, he did the Q&A, And he was hilarious. He's like a stand-up comedian. And, I love the movie. I remember holding my sides, cracking up. And it was a good movie. But it was different from the Jay and Silent Bob's. Okay, this was more of a not serious movie, but it could have taken place in an alternate universe. These weren't the same characters from the Jay and Silent Bob franchise, the View Askew universe. These were characters from just as a condensed film. I think that's what it was. You know what? Now that I think of it, I think he actually did Jersey Girl after Clerks 2, and Jersey Girl bombed. I liked the movie Jersey Girl. I thought it was pretty good. Some of the directing was pretty good. I liked that Will Smith showed up and all that. But it just didn't land. I liked the jokes in there, but it just wasn't. It wasn't what we had come to expect from Kevin Smith. There was a couple of funny things, but it wasn't. Dick and fart jokes out the butt. Hilarious situations. It wasn't that. It was okay, but I think it was probably the lesser of his movies. And then he did Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Zack and Miri Make a Porno was funny as hell. I loved it. The black guy that was in there, I can't remember his name, but he was hilarious. Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks, two actors who I cannot stand today, who I think are pieces of shit. But back then, I didn't know that, and I thought they did a really good job. I mean, they did. Even if they were pieces of shit back then, they did a really good job. They sold it. They made me laugh. I believe their characters. All that was good. The jokes landed. I mean, it was funny. It was a funny movie. So there was that. And then during that time when he met Seth Rogen, according to this documentary, he talked about that he got introduced to weed, to marijuana. Yeah. And I thought he was already stoned when he did this stuff, but apparently he wasn't. Apparently he was sober when he made all his movies up until this point. So for me personally, I think that once he started smoking weed, I think that's when the fall began for Kevin Smith. I really think that's when the fall started. I think that's when he quit paying attention. I think he was so confident in his abilities to tell a story, to make the jokes. He'd already made a lot of money. He opened up his own comic book store by this time. He was selling a lot of merchandise on his website, the View Askew universe. He was writing comic books. He had that Clerks cartoon, which was funny as hell. I mean, you ever watched that Clerks cartoon, the animated show? It was hilarious. Oh my! I watched that over and over again. I mean, it was a cartoon show, but it was there was no cursing and no sex in there. But I mean, the jokes landed, and it was adult jokes. Okay, they got it through. That was a hilarious cartoon. You got to watch that. There's a scene where they have Judge Reinhold do the voice of a judge. It's hilarious in the cartoon, and so that's definitely one you want to watch. But I think once he started smoking weed, that's when things started taking a turn for the worse for him. I think that's when he started making these movies that I know he loved them and he thought they were great, but us audience members start to figure maybe we're just getting older. Maybe we're just getting more mature. Like, okay, dick and fart jokes belong in the early 20s and the late teens, but now you're in your 30s, you're in your late 30s, early 40s, it's time to grow up a little bit, And the problem is I think that his use of marijuana kind of stifled his creativity. And he started getting stoned and then just, hey, it'd be really cool? What if we did a movie where a guy gets turned into a walrus? Yeah, oh my God, it'd be fucking awesome. Yeah, and then he made it happen. Like he made that movie, and it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I saw it. It was terrible. This Kevin Smith did this. You gotta be kidding me. This is nothing like a Kevin Smith movie. It's got the same actors in it from a Kevin Smith movie, but it's not. It's this. This is something you do when you're on drugs. Like, how did you pitch this? Like, how did you pitch this to somebody and get it approved? Like this is dumb. You know. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it right here. This is part one of my review, and then in part two we'll go on to the rest of it, the rest of the documentary about him, because everything I'm saying right now was in the documentary. I'm just paraphrasing it from my point of view, my experience with these same circumstances. And I'll give you my opinion of Kevin Smith, how I feel about him back then, and how I feel about him now. And I will see you again in part two. Thank you.